to approve last meeting's minutes? Yes.
Motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
Is there a second? All right, it's been properly moved and seconded to approve last meeting's minutes. All in favor, please raise your name placards. Okay. So 26. All right. All opposed, same sign. Abstentions. 601. I think that might be a first. All right. But with a vote of 2601, approving last meeting's minutes passes. Yes, Senator Winston.
Yes, I motion to bring up Bill 1542, which is the adding the vet med seats.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 1542. Is there any discussion on the floor at this time? Senator Getty.
I know with PGSG we could ask Andrew if we really wanted to. I talked to Emily before this. She said that in her opinion, as long as we have it worded to where it's just the undergrads in vet med or vet tech, I'm not 100% sure of the name, then it's fine, that the representation wouldn't be double between PhD and PhD. That was not a direct question.
Yes.
And then one of the questions that was brought up in caucus was about appointing vet tech senators because we don't have elections in time. And I did talk to a few of my friends who are in the vet tech program, and they, to their understanding, do not have a student council. Whereas I would think that they probably don't, and I could understand it considering it's a sort of smaller program.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Toll.
So if they don't have a student council, we would position the dean, is that correct?
Yeah. Seeing no further discussion at this time, we will now move to a vote. All in favor, please raise your name placards. Okay. All opposed, same sign. Abstentions? With a vote of 24-1-2, Resolution 15 or Bill 1542 passes. Yes.
A motion to bring up Resolution 1525.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Resolution 1525. Purdue student government stands with the University of Missouri. Is there any discussion on the floor at this time? This was vetoed by President Young and will therefore require a 2/3 majority in order to overturn his veto. Yes.
I'd like to
Good evening, everybody. A lot of you guys already know who I am. For those who don't, my name is Adam Williams, and I'm currently a junior in the College of Chemical Engineering. I'm here representing a number of organizations, but most prominently the Purdue Social Justice Coalition. So, as you just said, the bill was vetoed last time, and just wanted to reiterate, we can't reiterate enough that you guys are supposed to be the voice of us. You're supposed to be the voice of the campus of Purdue University, and this letter was drafted by a number of us. This letter represents our voice. And I understand that you've received a lot of emails and letters and responses sort of encouraging you to veto the bill or giving a criticism of what we're trying to do here. But nonetheless, this letter is still our voice. And any sort of altering, modifying, deleting, etc. of this letter changes the intentional connotation that we wrote the letter with. We wanted it to sound harsh. We said what we said. We meant what we meant to say. And I really cannot press enough that this letter, it's imperative that it's said as it's said. Anything less deteriorates and undermines the gravity of the momentum that we've been instituting on campus, and it's not the same. So we implore you to reconsider. This is our voice. Thank you.
Yes.
I think I'd just like to reiterate kind of what I said last meeting in that, more power to you, write the letter, stand up for your beliefs, absolutely. But we as a student government can work on these issues in different ways and how we see the most effective. So I firmly believe that we need to be diplomatic with the administration, and I think that this letter isn't exactly a diplomatic approach, and that's not what the concerned student body members are going for, and that's fine, but then we don't necessarily need to endorse that. We can work in our own ways to get what's accomplished and what we see.
Speaking partially on behalf of Sharif, he said that there's a reason that governments aren't direct, like there's a reason for representative democracy versus direct democracy, and that's so that the voice of the majority doesn't always crowd out the voice of a minority, which is still important. And I agree with him on that, so I think it's just important to consider that even if there's a lot of voices coming against this, that there are still voices on campus that are important to represent the
Yes.
I would just like to point out that if this body were to choose to not pass support for this letter, it does not necessarily mean that this body does not stand with your cause. A lot of us feel that standing with this letter and passing this resolution could potentially damage our working relationship with the university on pieces of legislation that were passed that really do make tangible change in terms of the cause, such as President Mike Young's proposal to expand the Emerging Leaders Scholarship Fund. If we were to pass something like this, it would potentially damage our working relationship with the university that we need to practice diplomacy in to accomplish such a task.
I know we talked about this last time, but for those of you who aren't here, this letter, because Purdue student government didn't have a hand in writing it, it does come across harsh, and I understand that's the message you're trying to get across, but it does put us against the administration. It makes it harder for us to actually, like John said, Senator Graham said, it makes it harder for us to actually get the things done that we are trying to accomplish. It's done. It makes it difficult. It makes us an enemy of the administration, and maybe even a bit unrealistic. I do understand that you did sometimes you make a lot of hard, and you just sent it out, and good for you. That's what you do. Great. We're going to try to do what's in our power to help you guys out, but this is the damage our relationship with the administration, and would actually detract from what we've been trying to accomplish to help you guys out as well.
Yes, Senator Moss.
My name is Marcus Lloyd, junior year in college of aeronautical engineering. I hear a lot of you guys saying that you damage the relationship with administration. What you guys do not realize is this is seriously damaging your relationship with underrepresented minorities. A lot of minorities haven't been to these meetings, haven't seen anything that you have been doing, but they all know about this letter that we worked hard on, that we drafted, that we poured our heart into, and that you guys turned down, that President Young vetoed. So now all we know is, yeah, you guys think what we're saying is good, but you can't stand by that. That means you can't stand by this. How would an unrepresented minority react to the fact that you guys do not want to support what we are working on? With that, we can't work together. You already slapped us in the face by saying, no, we can't have this letter. Now we want to come up with some more tangible ways we can work together. However, our first option, you guys just turned down. That doesn't look good on the student government, and that doesn't look good for Purdue. Tensions are already high, and this is just adding more fuel to the fire. You guys do not want to do university good. It's going to be very tough for you guys to have a healthy relationship with underrepresented minorities.
Senator Friedland.
I
I respect the views of that was just said. I do think that there are, I mean, we have the more tangible stuff we have passed. I mean, you look at, again, I reference President Mike Young's legislation that really promotes the Emerging Leader Scholarship. That's tangible benefits that we can then take to the university. We can take the university and say, look, this will really help the underrepresented minorities. We can't say every time, well, if just because we disagree with the language of a bill, that means that we're against a broad social issue. I think I speak for everybody. I say I am 100% for encouraging this underrepresented minorities, but at the same time, we need to do it in ways that provide tangible benefits rather than just isolating everybody.
I would like to start off by saying that I fundamentally disagree with both Senator Young and Senator Jones on the fact that this was penned by the student body members. There are members of the student body in this room who penned this with their own hand. We are the representatives of student body members. Just because this isn't a majority of the student body doesn't mean it's not important, and it doesn't mean it's not able to be passed or heard in the Senate. And it doesn't mean that we should veto it just because the language isn't exactly diplomatic. Sometimes things need to get messy in order to get accomplished. And if our administration can't handle hearing some harsh words from the undergrad body when they have been failed, then we have a bigger issue that we also need to address. So, in that aspect, I would like to encourage you all to think about the fact that this was penned by some students in your colleges. This is penned by some of your direct constituents. Your constituents want to see this passed. Some of them do not, other ones do. The ones who want to see this passed are the ones it directly affects. And you're here to represent the people that are going to be directly affected by this. Just as much as the people who actually don't have a stake in this, but still want to see it put down. This was originally passed, and it was vetoed. That means that there was something to be said, and there was at least a majority support in the Senate for it, as well as a large portion of student body students of the student body who are concerned. And on that, I would like to yield the rest of my time to the gentleman with his hand up.
Oh, good. You guys really got the same job. I just wanted to bring up the point that you bring up a big issue that you guys should represent folks who will be affected by this legislation. But the passing of the bill and the language being so strongly worded may strain relationships with the administration, which would hurt students across the board. Because when we're looking at the effect of scholarships, emerging leader scholarship funds, other legal programs in order to benefit students across the board, straining the relationship between Purdue student government and the administration, that could in turn have negative impacts on a much larger subset of the student population, not only but also underrepresented minorities. And there is a significant portion of the student body who is opposed to this as well. And I think Purdue student government not taking a stance one way or another on this issue is far more representative of the divisive nature of campus as a whole rather than endorsing one position in particular.
Yes.
Hello again.
Sorry, before you start, there's only 1 minute left for discussion, so.
Yes, thank you. So I think with all this discussion, open dialogue, it's great and everything, but I think we're getting away from the larger issue. At this point in time, this letter doesn't necessarily serve as a solution. It serves as an acknowledgement to the problem. The very first thing we learn in engineering, before we can develop a solution, you have to acknowledge the problem, the stakeholder. You guys know what I'm talking about. So by supporting this letter, you're acknowledging that there is, number one, an issue here. And number two, Purdue is not this utopia that President Manners makes it out to be. And number three, there are parallels between here and Mizzou. That is the main issue here. And you're right, it does affect the underrepresented students directly. I understand, you have to cross your T's and dot your I's and make sure you maintain that healthy rapport with the faculty and administration, thank you, as well. But we just want to make sure that we're not overlooked as we have been for so long. So many times our voices have fell on deaf ears until we started protesting, until we organized 1,000 people outside the class to 50, until we made it on the New York Times, Journal Courier, Purdue Expo, etc. So if it sounds harsh, good, because otherwise you're not going to listen to us. Thank you.
All right, there's no more time on the floor.
I just want to comment about discussion in general. So people in the back, can you please speak up? It's very hard to hear you on this side.
I think probably that speaks for everyone. It's kind of hard because it's such an open room, but senators, especially if you have a softer voice, go ahead and speak up. Yes, Senator.
I would like to motion to extend debate by 2 minutes.
Is there a second?
Would anyone like to amend the motion?
Seeing.
Second.
Second? All right, it's been properly moved and seconded to extend debate. That requires,
Can I amend the motion?
I don't know. Parliamentarian.
Sorry.
I don't think it's gonna,
They want to change the number in a minute.
Yes, it is.
I know.
I move to amend the motion to 10 minutes? No?
So you're motioning to amend the motion to extend debate from 2 minutes to 10 minutes. Is there a second for that? It's been properly moved and seconded to amend the motion to extend debate from 2 minutes to 10 minutes. I believe that would require a 2/3 majority
Not, probably a majority motion. We're not voting on
for the amendment. The amendment will require a majority. Okay. The amendment requires a majority vote. All in favor, please raise your name placards. Okay. All opposed, same sign. Abstentions? Okay. So with a vote of 12-14-0, the motion to amend the motion fails. Now we're back to the,
So you said it was 12 to 14, but there's 27 senators.
I mean, even if it went to the majority, it still fails, regardless. Moving on. We are now on the motion to extend debate by 2 minutes. All in favor, please raise your name placards. This requires a 2/3 majority vote.
Is there a name placard raised?
If you guys are raising your name placards, raise them immediately when I say to and raise them high. Yeah. 13. All opposed, same sign. Abstentions? No, that's right. So with a vote of 13-13-1, the motion to extend debate ties. Oh yeah, it fails. Losing my mind a little bit, guys. All right, so it fails to extend debate. So we are now voting on Resolution 1525. Purdue student government stands with the University of Mizzou, and it requires a 2/3 majority to overturn President Young's veto. All in favor, please raise your name.
So when you say all in favor, are we in favor of the veto or in favor of the bill?
The bill. Okay.
Essentially voting for the bill again.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to vote by? Yeah. Sure. Vote by roll.
Alright, Zachary Frazier,
Nay.
Ross Smith,
Nay.
Ethan McNeely, Jacob Getty,
Aye.
Caitlin Steffes,
Abstain.
Courtney Castleman,
Nay.
Anna McGarn, Daniel Romery,
Nay.
Giovanni Malloy,
Nay.
Mackenzie McDonald,
Taylor Toll,
Nay.
Grace Canberra,
Nay.
Adi Ben Joshua,
Nay.
Miranda Campbell,
Aye.
Hannah Calvert,
Aye.
Jerry Dinger,
Aye.
Anastasia Young, Sarah Morrison, Noah White, Priya Patel, Jonathan Jones, Sam Friedland, Sharif Almaki,
Aye.
Eric Scott,
Aye.
Renner Winston, David Teeter, Nathan Graver, Evan Kinnickman,
Abstain.
With a vote of 8-14-5, the resolution 1525 fails, and President Young's veto is upheld. So that concludes old business. Moving along to new business. Yes.
I'm today to bring up Bill 1546.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 1546, rebranding of Purdue Student Government co-sponsorship. It's amendable, debatable, and requires a majority vote. Senator Toll, take off.
All right, so guys, this is the rebranding of the Purdue Student Government co-sponsorships. You have the guidelines with you. It goes into detail about the little bit of changes that we will be making. The biggest one for the people in the audience, for basically splitting the under 500 ones into a different separate category, as well as for the bigger ones, such as the co-sponsorships on the table tonight, will be called co-sponsorship partnerships. This is the old one. Co-sponsorship joint networks, which means that they're pretty much going to be run the same way. You'll submit an application, but the application will have to be submitted at least 2 weeks before a Senate meeting, as well as at least 1 month before the event is to be taking place, which both the co-sponsorships on the table right now do meet those requirements. And then they'll be working with 2 PSG members, and then those 2 PSG members will be getting bi-weekly reports in the form of a document. They don't have to read, so then the senators can review them during Senate session.
Yes.
Quick point of clarification for senators, the guidelines in your folder are the old guidelines, they were recently updated. So there's some wording changes.
Yeah. Let's continue that. Yes, Senator Young.
Senator Toll, the updated ones are the ones that under the
Correct. Any further discussion at this time? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. All in favor, please raise your name placards. All right, with the unanimous vote, Bill 1546, rebranding of Purdue Student Government co-sponsorship passes. Sarah.
I move to bring up Bill 1550. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 1550, co-sponsorship of Purdue Dairy Club. Is there any discussion on the floor at this time? Would you like to start?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Dairy Club presented here at the beginning of the meeting. If you have any questions, we can ask them. I don't really have anything else to add other than I think it's a great opportunity for members of the Dairy Club to be able to attend a conference and really get to have a chance to learn a little bit more about their field since it is so close this year.
Sarah Getty.
So I've been working on the math. I've gotten better at it, I promise. So with the 2,500 going to 20 members, just keep in mind that that's about $125 per member going on this trip. I know we've had these discussions in the past, which we're not able to talk about, but keep that in mind that that's a substantial amount of money per student going, and it's also an event that's pretty closed off. There's a small scope of students that are going to be affected by this. It's a large amount of money, and it's off campus. That's all I would like you to ponder.
Senator Toll.
I would like also to say that this club we're not eligible for SOGA, and co-sponsorships were somewhat created for the people that weren't eligible for SOGA or SDAC. The Dairy Club did have an application for an earlier event earlier on the semester, so that was not, they weren't eligible for this semester, and their event is in February 5th. The SOGA deadline is February 2nd. So we wouldn't have had our meeting before they would have actually been allocated for the event. I would like also to ponder that as well.
Senator McDonald.
Just bring this up. So in their budget, they said that they are, there's 350 people that will be getting food with 4 meals, which is 1,400 meals. Their budget for that was $19,600 divided by the 1,400 meals is $14 per meal. I was bringing that up because according to the JNET policies, we can only fund $10 per meal. We can't, I don't think that is affected by this, but I was pointing out that according to the JNET policy, that we just passed, it's $10 per meal, not $14.
Senator Toll.
Those guidelines, they were, if you look at them, those guidelines are only towards the under $500. We can also adopt them for this one as well. It's just something to think about. So.
Senator Lloyd.
So I just have a direct question to the Dairy Club representatives. So I know we're not operating under JNET yet, but will any of the money be going to food? And then two, would you mind explaining to everyone the question I asked earlier about like, what level PSG would be at and what that is?
So, part of the registration fee that we extend to every college student who is coming, so that's Purdue students and say a student from Wisconsin that would like to come, is $75 a person, and that includes those 4 meals that we're offering them over the weekend, and includes a little bit of money that is going to go towards like our gifts that we give each speaker, and a little bit of that money goes towards our keynote, and a little bit of that money goes towards transportation to and from the farms. So that $75 is more than just the meals. It is for like the general atmosphere and the general logistics that is going to take us. And we have different levels of sponsorship. If you guys were to offer us a co-sponsorship of $2,500, you guys would be in the platinum level, and you would be represented on the t-shirt and at our big pink and on our big banquet presentation that we have on Saturday night. Thank you.
Sarah.
Direct question, just curious, what's the breakdown of the other levels?
I don't have that right in front of me, but we have silver, which is 500. Oh wait, bronze is the first one, which is 250. Silver, I believe, is 500, and then gold is 1,000, and then platinum is 1,500 or above.
Yes.
Just like to make note that they did talk earlier about the fact that there probably will most likely be more than 20 members going, and so this is just to offset the cost of some members. Dairy Club is working on other ways to help offset the cost of other members going additionally. And I yield the rest of my time to Annie.
I would like to take a little bit of time to let you guys know that this is something that's really that our students, our Purdue students, or our Purdue Dairy Club students really look forward to. It's something that really changes a lot of them once they come back, because they really get their eyes open to the different opportunities within the dairy industry. A lot of our students don't come from dairy farms. Probably just a handful out of the paying members actually do come from a dairy farm. So it is something that we allow all students to be a part of. You don't have to be in the College of Agriculture, and you don't have to own cattle, and you don't have to be from a dairy farm. We are very open to all students, and we really take the time to encourage them to step out of their comfort zone, and we encourage them to be involved in something that they're not that comfortable with. So, thank you.
Yes.
So, when I asked earlier about like the breakdown, you said 7,000 was coming from companies. How much is Michigan State putting towards the total budget?
They're doing the same thing that we are, where they are contacting agriculture companies within their state and people that they work with. We so far have got about $2,000 from them. They're working hard. They're not as big as a club as us. And yeah, they are responsible though for 50% of it.
So out of the 30,000, they're responsible for, like, are they responsible for 15,000 out of the 30,000 total with him, or out of the 7,000 that you're trying to get from companies?
Oh, well, the expense for our whole conference is 30,000, and we're hoping that they help with sponsorship for half that, so 15,000. And we're trying to raise our 15,000 by asking for sponsorship and asking for help from our companies here in agriculture, or here in Indiana, while they might be taking a different approach by asking companies, but they're also doing like a different fundraiser. Thank you.
Senator Getty.
I move to amend this bill to read, therefore be it enacted that Purdue student government provide a co-sponsorship of $1,500 to the Purdue Dairy Club.
So it's been properly moved and seconded to amend Bill 1550's therefore clause to say, therefore be it enacted that the Purdue student government provide a co-sponsorship of $1,500 to the Purdue Dairy Club. Just knock out the rest.
Sure.
Is there any discussion on the floor at this time about this amendment? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. It requires a majority vote. All in favor, please raise your name placards. All opposed, same sign. Okay. So with a vote of 21-4-2, this amendment passes. Is there any further discussion about the bill? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. All in favor, please raise your name placards. All opposed, same sign. Abstentions? With a vote of 23-2, Bill 1550, co-sponsorship of Purdue Dairy Club passes.
I move to bring up Bill 1548.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 1548, constitutional amendment outlining procedure for creation of ad hoc seats. It is amendable, debatable, but requires a 2/3 majority. Yes.
So we've now had several groups come to Senate saying that they don't feel like their voices are represented. And while we discussed other options for it, this was one that's being proposed to create a new kind of membership called ad hoc members. They would be created in the same way ad hoc committees are by a bill, but would require a 2/3 vote of the entire voting membership of the student senate. So it would require, in this scenario, 20 senators to vote yes, abstentions don't count here, to create these seats, to bring an undergraduate part of the student body that wants their voice heard. I know this is a big change to our constitution. It's literally adding a new kind of membership. So I don't want it to seem like we're lightly changing this, but I think it's a really good avenue for making creating a way for more students to have a voice in our body.
Thank you. Senator Debbie.
We discussed this on Monday in the ad hoc for outreach and representation committee meeting. So we were able to talk to students from they're in the audience. Hi guys. So we were able to discuss this, and there were, while it was not the original proposal that we discussed a few weeks ago, it was well received, and everyone seems very excited about it. I'm very excited about it. This is really cool. Good job, Steve.
Yes. Yeah.
So I just want to touch on one concern. People may be concerned that this is over representation, but it's not, since they are student seats, not voting seats. It just has an additional voice to Senate, create a higher number.
Sarah.
I know, I feel like I'm a broken record because I think I say this every kind of session now. I literally ran the only contested race. There was no one running, no other contested races. So if we have solo students who are willing to put in the effort of actually being a member of the Senate, like that speaks to me, and that should speak to you too. Everyone has the opportunity to join. Everyone will have the opportunity to join again. It's definitely something you should look into. But also taking our, we're supposed to represent the students. We have a student seat and we have a voting seat for a reason. Taking our job of representing the needs of the students and pushing that onto someone who cannot even vote to back up their own opinion doesn't seem right to me. I don't know how often students come to you guys with things, but people don't talk to me. I don't know if they just don't like me, but I have to really go out of my way to find a student to bring up a concern to student government. Well, I just feel like this is not necessary, and like I said, it's not fair to take the responsibilities and put them on another student who will not even be able to vote to back up their opinion. That's how I feel about it.
Sarah.
So some things that I like about this idea, it opens up lines of communication, and it shows people that we're listening to them and their concerns of underrepresentation. But as Aziz said, it is a big change, and I don't think it should be taken lightly. So if it does pass, I think that IA and the ad hoc for outreach and representation really need to look at it and make sure this is the right thing. Maybe there's some other idea that will better suit the needs out there, and we just haven't thought of it yet. So I think that we really need to look at that. But I don't know. I also have some concerns with it in terms of setting precedents, and I feel like we could really easily get boxed into having to give seats to all these people, which again isn't a bad thing, bringing voices to the table, but if we throw the seats huge, then we can't have effective dialogues. And furthermore, if people author a piece of legislation, they get speaking rights automatically. So in terms of just using this for specific upcoming things that we're talking about, if they would write the bill or the resolution, they would have this right. So I'm kind of on the fence here.
Sarah Malloy.
So, in principle, it's an interesting concept, but I think what we're meant to do is a limited structure for how we can better engage our students, especially at producing government. So, I have to say that governments can do this basically based on consistency. And I thought a lot about this bill, and I don't think we have everything in order yet within the Senate. I mean, right now we're putting an academic college on the And I'm not sure if cultural centers are on the same level as clubs. I think they perhaps have an even higher standing than just like a registered organization. I mean, they have a building, they have staff. So I'm not sure that we can put everybody in the same boat. Another thing I would say is if you get a robust debate going, you're going to have a lot of different stakeholders in the argument, and it's going to be very subjective about who gets the seats. It's going to require 2/3, so I realize it's kind of a stringent process, which is good. But you know, there might be people who you don't consider. For example, if you're having some sort of debate about, like, you know, bringing free condoms back, you invite all the religious organizations, Purdue Students for Life. I know there's some others in it, like women's groups on campus. Who you invite to the table and you get to see. And they end up staying for more than just a bill. So I agree with Daniel here. I think we should do a better job reaching out and having people co-author bills so that they can have a voice on something they're passionate about. And I would say we need to really get our house in order as far as being consistent in our representation, because I still don't think there's consistency in the way we allocate representation.
Thank you. Yeah, just a quick comment. I know there's a concern brought up that we might grow too large and have a cohesive Senate. I know that we did just add 10 seats from this past Senate session to this session. So I think that we've been pretty productive so far. We've been pretty cohesive. So I think that adding more speaking seats would help.
Sarah Campbell.
I'd just like to make a comment on the uncontested races. There is a reason why we just created the ad hoc committee for outreach and representation. And
You can't hear you.
Yeah, thank you. There is a reason that we just created the ad hoc committee for outreach and representation, and it's because people don't understand how student government works. People don't know when stuff happens with us. People just don't know what's going on with us most of the time. And that's the reason that ad hoc was created, and that's more or less the reason I'm under the impression and that I feel we had so many uncontested races, especially with the addition of the new seats being new that particular election session. That's all I got.
I first of all like to address the representation thing. This bill is not about representation. The principle of representation that we've agreed on is that students on campus are represented by being in a college. There's a difference between representing you as a person and representing your voice. This is about bringing voices to the table that haven't been here, not about representation per se. I do share some of the concerns that were brought up, one of those being the slippery slope argument of when does it end, who do we bring in? And that's why in there it takes a 2/3 vote of the entire membership of the Student Senate. There's 29 or 27 today, but getting 20 of us to agree on one thing, especially when it's adding membership to our group, is a little difficult. I'd like to see us set a precedence where we don't create seats for very vague reasons, but we create them for more direct reasons. Again, it's up to Senate. This ends when Senate says it ends because they create the bill to dissolve the seat, or they automatically expire May 1st of every single year. Lastly, this is not related to that, but I forgot to mention that the first therefore clause isn't related per se to ad hoc seats, but it's related to the fact that we're rebranding non-voting seats as speaking seats. I added that in this bill so I could then refer to speaking seats in the new wording.
Sarah McDonald.
Okay, so we say in our public purpose that it's our job to represent the voice of the students, and it's just another avenue allowing more voices to come to the table, and it's really important to consider how significant it is to let those voices come to the table. I know all of us spoke really passionate about that. Sonia Malloy spoke really passionate about the importance of the Honors College having areas. It's just an avenue to do that. Also, this is the first piece of work coming from the ad hoc that we created, and Jacob said before that, it's important that we support our own initiatives as far as supporting our own ad hoc. And besides the ad hoc, we're giving the students nothing besides symbolic resolutions, and it's about time we took action to resolve these problems in a way that benefits everyone.
Just so you know, there's about 30 seconds left, so Sarah, get it.
I'll speak really quickly. So in caucus, I mentioned that this is giving us another tool in our toolbox to reach out to the student body, to give them that voice. We're not adding seats with this bill, we're giving ourselves the ability to add seats. So I see the issues of us growing too big and us not being conducive. If that's the case, don't use the tool.
All right, and that would be time. So now we will move to a vote. All in favor, please raise your name placards. All opposed, same sign. Abstentions? So with a vote of 14, 10, 2.
You abstained.
She raised hers.
Oh, you did? For a third abstention?
I did vote.
Yeah, so that was okay. Regardless, with a vote of 14, 10, 3, Bill 1548, constitutional amendment outlining procedure for the creation of ad hoc seats fails.
Go Dairy Club. But you guys are ridiculous. You don't represent Purdue.
I'm gonna
You
need
don't
that
represent- No, I don't care. I'm going to my office over here with Georgia Ross. Fuck you guys.
Moving right along, Senate. Senator Graber.
Motion to bring up Bill 1547.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 1547. There requires a majority vote. You all for this? Yes, you did. Senator Graber.
I think that given the fact that we passed DNET tonight, and as well as the fact that we don't have as much funds as we're hoping left in the co-sponsorship account, I think that we should push this bill to next semester, and then potentially it would be a good opportunity for us to kick off DNET, I guess, and be able to utilize that.
Senator Malloy.
I have a big question for Sarah. So is there like any significant financial difference or benefit for holding off till next semester? Like other than making them refile and come back in?
We would just table the bill, so it wouldn't actually be, because we're still operating under the word co-sponsorship, we would table the bill and it'd be brought up on our first Senate meeting next semester. So like there's not, it would just, because we freeze the account, but, so we only have $1,220 left with as of passing the dairy club. But if we want to give them the full amount, Peter says we can't.
Would they have to reapply?
If we wait till if we table the bill, they do not have to reapply. If we wait to table the bill, they don't have to reapply. We can just bring it up in old business. Direct question to the ladies for Grand Prix. If we do hold off, will that detrimental on you in any way?
It's not until, like I said, April 22nd, so we're good to go. As long as we allow for at least a month to order things and get all of that to row.
Sarah.
You don't mind hiring me to charge the point?
I think either way it happens, I would say it's fine. I mean, if you guys want to give them to it now, we can either give it to them now or we can just wait a month or two and then give it to them then. Like if you think you want to give it to them, it's not a huge difference. I mean, I technically have 12,000 for this semester, 12,000 for next semester, but I don't know. It's almost like a little promissory note, like, oh, you'll get it next time. It's not a huge deal. Just know that then we'll have a little less for next semester. Also, we discussed that we would kind of like save co-sponsorships for until the SOGA deadline comes up. So I don't know if that means that we would also include this in that time frame and then also wait until February to bring it up, or if we can just bring it up at the beginning. And
Yeah, personally, I would say it's, if you want to go for it, go for it. It's not like, we still have some remaining for this semester. It's not like we're already exceeded the limit. If there were another one on the table, then it might be different, but I would give the okay of just doing it.
Since it sounds like either way would work, personally, I like if we stick with what we set as our own limits. I mean, yes, we could go above that, but I think it's setting a precedent as if we try to maintain that as much as possible. So I motion to table this bill until next.
Second. Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to table Bill 1547 until the next meeting. This requires a majority vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Abstentions? So with a vote of 25-0, the motion to table Bill 1547 until the next meeting passes. So,
I move to bring up Bill 1551, creation of pastry committee and establishment of student.
is there a second? Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 1551, creation of the PS3 Committee on the Establishment of a Permanent Student Legal Services. Want to take a thought?
So I talked a lot about this in caucus, but basically, I'm one of the undergraduate representatives with our lovely Chief Justice on a student legal service task force. What I'm looking to do with this ad hoc committee is basically just help supplement it with a lot of undergraduates, well, not supplement, but basically be able to present them with some different undergraduate solutions. We are currently on a pretty strict time schedule. From my understanding, the contract runs up July 31st, so that gives us about 7.5 months to find a solution that can keep what is an awesome program in effect at Purdue University. I mean, most of everything else is said in the bill. She has a 93.5% approval rating, with 100% saying they strongly agree that they would recommend other students in need of her services to her. So I think it's a really important Purdue institution, basically, and something that we should do everything we can to try to make sure we keep it in effect.
Sarah Rummer.
I think that that student legal services is definitely an important service offered at Purdue, and I just want to address, I guess, we should create this committee because there's differences. There's a lot of overlap between the mental health committee and this committee, but there's time constraints more so, and this service and some other things, but I think that we should make sure it's kind of promise to ourselves that we make sure that we communicate between the two so we don't go reinventing the wheel when one committee already has something done.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. All in favor, please raise your name records. And with a unanimous vote, Bill 1551 passes.
I move to bring up Bill 1549.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 1549. SBAB amendment feedback. It's amendable, debatable, requires a majority vote.
I know a lot of people don't care that much about SBAB, and I'm okay with it. I like it enough for all of us. A lot of the members that are on the board, every year when we go through the guidelines and procedures, we just notice little things that you wouldn't have think they would have applied to in the applications. And it's good to have a system where they're required to give us feedback on them. This is also written vaguely enough that if everything's all right with all of the guidelines and procedures, they just need to tell us everything's good. I know there were concerns that we shouldn't be amending our guidelines and procedures every single year. They should be consistent. But when it comes to, I do a lot of grant writing. Grants change every single year, from corporations to universities. Every single year they're changed to fit new changes that have come about, and I think this will help us keep up with that on a similar scale.
Thank you. Commissioner. Actually, I have a question for Adise. I know you're really plugged into SFAB. Is this something that, would you want to maybe kick the rules over to IA for like a full review and then like package them all at once? Or is it just sort of as they come up, you think it's better to test them one at a time?
Yeah, so the only other rule that we have considered is something that like is still being in the work and won't apply for this upcoming year. I mean, if we could bring it to IA, I know I could work with them, but since this isn't a bill that changes our rules, I'm not sure if that would go to them. There's not many rules left to change.
All right, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. All in favor, please raise your name placards. All right, with a unanimous vote, Bill 1549 SFAB amendment feedback passes.
Motion to bring up resolution 15-26.
Is there a second? It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up resolution 1526, meal plans for off-campus students. It's amendable, debatable, and requires a majority vote. Senator Moore.
Yeah, so I've been working on this bill with being very capable and very driven for everything, and so extremely proud of what she and I have come up with. And so we met with some administrators from students down here, Purdue down here, and so basically they thought about this idea in the past. They even brought it forward to the Board of Trustees. The problem right now is capacity. So earlier we passed a bill, and last year we passed a bill written right over here by Dan and Rummery about expanding Wiley Dining Court. And so this kind of adds a little bit more pressure to the administration to both expand the dining court and give them, another revenue stream to think about when they go to expand the dining court. So I think this will be a really positive change. I know Bill and I are both very excited about it.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. All in favor, please raise your name placards. Carried. It's an abstention. Okay. So 26. With a vote of 26-01, resolution 1526 passes. Yes, Senator.
I'm going to bring up resolution 15-25.
Is there a second? It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up resolution 1525, expansion of on-campus outdoor Wi-Fi. It's amendable, debatable, and requires a majority vote. Senator Wood.
Yeah, so again, another piece of legislation I'm very proud of. This time I worked with Chris Shaw on this one. He did a lot of research since we were off over there. And so we set up a new folks and ITAPs, their names and positions are included in the bill here. So essentially the idea is to, once again, put a push on the university to expand Wi-Fi access to outdoors. Currently, the issue that was explained to us by ITAP was a funding issue, essentially. So if you'll notice, we have also included Dr. Jerry McCartney, the CIO of Purdue, and recommended that we include him when we bring the bill to the administration, just so that we have someone who he said has decision-making capabilities as far as funding allocation. So, yeah.
Any further discussion? Senator Steffes.
Last year, this was discussed by a couple of PSG members with ITAP members, and one thing that was brought up that, for example, for cost-wise, for infrastructure only, which includes fibers, wiring, and the structures themselves to put up in these outdoor areas, just for the engineering wall, it would be $350,000 just to put those basic things into the area. So just so everyone knows what the actual cost is.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none at this time, we will move to a vote. All in favor, please raise your name placards. It doesn't count, but nice try. Okay. 26, 0, and then abstention from Senator Campbell. With a vote of 26-0-1, Resolution 1525, expansion of on-campus outdoor Wi-Fi passes.
Motion to bring up resolution 15-27.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Resolution 1527, reaffirmation of Purdue values. Amendable, debatable, requires a majority vote.
I guess I just, it's not mine, but basically, as we're in the office, this is just reaffirming the value system that PSG has.
I suppose I should have yielded time initially to one of the authors. No? Okay. All right, then continuing on. Senator Young.
I'm like totally in favor of this bill, but I do want to kind of like know, what like the point of bringing it up again to say that we do slightly like, I guess, it's like for future reference, maybe we should like, tangible things. I don't know. Obviously, I agree with it, so. If that makes sense.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. All in favor, please raise your name placards. With a so with a vote of 26-0-1, Resolution 1527, reaffirmation of Purdue values passes.
Move to close. No, not close it like end it. Close it like a close by.
Pick all you guys out.
Oh, gosh. I forget, parliamentarian really looked this up. I think it requires a 2/3.
Well, the standing rules say that closing the meeting.
I don't think that's allowed.
Yeah, I think it occurs during matters pertaining to the removal of an officer or member, members pertaining to private contract negotiations, or matters pertaining to ongoing legal proceedings.
I know somehow we did this last year when we did the special exceptions.
We've not made this known. Okay. The way that we're going to do this is vote by paper ballot, so it's anonymous. And then we had also discussed last night at cabinet that.
Point of order, this is not a cabinet matter. This is a Senate matter. So cabinet can't.
Point of order, don't interrupt me.
I can with a point of order.
The people who the stipends pertain to were willing to leave the room, so it would essentially be closed while you discuss that amendment. But I mean, it's already going to happen.
Okay.
It's already going to happen.
Yeah,
Yes.
just point of clarification. So the rules changed from last year when we updated the constitution. So that's why there's some confusion. Why it happened last year, not this year.
Sorry, guys. We probably should have made that more known. It's been a little crazy, but that was the plan. So vote by paper ballot. It's going to be anonymous, and then we'll leave when you're discussing our sentence. Yeah, and Renner will run the meeting when I'm done. Yeah.
Point of clarification.
No, I mean they're all separate.
Point of clarification, was it not moved and seconded to go to a vote on whether or not we close the meeting?
It's not allowed. It was put to rest because it's not allowed.
They're just.
Okay.
Yeah, voluntary. Yes. Is there a second? It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 1552. Amendable, debatable, and requires a 2/3 majority vote. Is there any discussion on the floor at this time once he's gone?
This is just a point of clarification. I thought all of the people who were receiving stipends were all going to leave while we discussed all of the bills.
No, I mean, we can, yeah, we can. Okay, all right. I am fine with that. Are you fine with that? You fine with that? We don't care. We will do that. Renner will conduct the meeting in the meantime, but just for a point of reference, when you're making a point of clarification, you still need to raise your hand and like I would call on you and you can make it then instead of just.
Point of clarification, according to Robert's rules, that's not true.
All right, well, just kidding. I'll go.